Hi, it's Mike with AskTractorMike.com. Well, by now most of you have heard about the Baltimore bridge collapse. And something a long way away that doesn't seem like it would have much of an impact on the farm equipment world is actually going to be a fairly significant impact, at least for a couple of manufacturers. And I'll tell you what I know about it today. In my experience in the farm equipment business, I've always lived in Missouri, and that Baltimore port is actually someplace that even tractors that come to Missouri come from that port. And so it's going to impact some farm equipment manufacturers and some more than others. But let's talk about what happened. First off, you've probably seen it on the news. A barge hit a bridge. The bridge came down. Several people were killed. Blocked the port of Baltimore, at least for a while, the foreseeable future. And so if the goods are in the port, they'll probably go out, but there won't be anything coming in or going out, and that's important. And I want to talk about that today, just to kind of give you a background of where stuff comes in. You know, most of the tractors that are sold in this country are not made in this country. Some of the bigger ones are, most of the smaller ones are not. And so they've got to be imported in, and they've got to go through a port. And some come through that Baltimore port. Now, this could have been a lot worse if it had happened right after COVID, when the supply chain was in a disarray from the COVID mess. This would have been a lot worse a couple of years ago. Actually, right now, there's probably some farm equipment dealers, at least in my area, that are a little bit happy that the supply chain has been disrupted a bit because they've got all the inventory they need. They need a really good selling season this spring to get rid of the inventory. What happens with tractors is they come into ports, depending, of course, on where you're located. Who this won't impact is the guys on the West Coast. If you live west of the Rocky Mountains, you're probably going to be impacted minimally, if at all, by this situation in Baltimore. That's because most of the stuff in the western U.S. comes into either Tacoma, Washington's port, or Oakland, California's port, and there may be some comes in other ports that I don't know about, maybe Los Angeles, I'm not sure. And so who uses Baltimore port? Tractor companies that are either based in Asia, which is Japan or Korea, or sell a lot of product from that region, tend not to use the Baltimore port. They'll use a port on the West Coast, or the Houston port, or a port in the Savannah, Georgia area. And that would be Kubota. A lot of the Mahindra product comes from there. TYM, Coyote, and Yanmar. Now, the exception to that is LS. It's my understanding that LS sources a lot of their tractors for the East and parts of the Midwest from the Baltimore port, so it would impact them. I used to work for Agco, and Massey Ferguson did use that Baltimore port a bunch, but dealers are telling me that today that Massey has pretty much shifted a lot of their port activity to a port down in Savannah. So that Baltimore port is less important to Agco than it used to be. Now, they've got some European-made hay equipment from Germany that comes in there, but otherwise it's not that important port. The guys that are really going to be impacted by this situation are the big three: Deere, C&H, which is Case, and New Holland. And I worked in a New Holland dealership for 11 years. They get a lot of stuff out of that Baltimore port. So if you're a New Holland dealer in Pennsylvania or probably Tennessee or in that area, this is going to have a big impact on you. And I'm sure there's folks that are working to get that stuff shifted to a different port. Same with Case. And of course, Case and New Holland are part of the C&H family. They compete with one another, but they're owned by the same people. And a lot of their machinery is the same thing painted a different color. And a lot of the stuff that New Holland is going to be impacted on that port closing, Case is as well. So both of those companies are going to be impacted by the Baltimore port closing. The really big company that's going to be impacted is Deere. And if you're a student of John Deere, you know that a lot of their stuff comes from Germany. They've got a gigantic plant in Manheim-Germany that manufactures their mid-range tractors. And that plant produces a lot of stuff that comes to the U.S. They're the market leader in their mid-range tractor line. And they use that Baltimore port extensively for that Manheim-produced product. So that's going to be disrupted for a while, and that'll be a big deal for Deere. The big thing that's going to impact John Deere is going to be exports, because a lot of John Deere's equipment is made in the U.S. and exported to other countries. And they use that Baltimore port a bunch to export products from the U.S. And that's going to be disrupted for the foreseeable future. So that's kind of what I know about the port situation. Most of the companies are not going to be affected, but the big three are probably scrambling right now to find another place to get their stuff in and out of this country. I appreciate you watching my videos. I would be honored, and it would help me out if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can do that by clicking the mic face icon and check that bell so you get notified when I post future videos. Here's a link to my website and the Tractor Fund Store with cool stuff for sale for the tractor owner. It helps support my channel. And here's another couple of videos you might want to watch. Thanks for watching.